I'm Elise Mulder Osenga, Senior Science Writer for Earthzine.org. This May, I interviewed Dr. Jerry R. Schubel about the importance of ocean research and about his advice for burgeoning science writers. Dr. Schubel is the president and CEO of the Aquarium of the Pacific, a California-based institution committed to inspiring public interest in the oceans and in ocean life. At prior points in his career, Dr. Schubel has served as the Dean of the Marine Sciences Research Center at Stony Brook University and as adjunct professor, research scientist, and associate director of the Chesapeake Bay Institute at Johns Hopkins University. His specific area of expertise relates to the relationship between policy and science on ocean issues, and he is passionate about the importance of oceanic research and exploration and protecting these waterbound ecosystems and the resources they provide. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Schubel, for taking the time to talk with me today. The first question I have for you is that one of the ideas you have championed is the need for a national program on ocean exploration. Why is this so important on a national level?
We have this responsibility, I think, and it's an opportunity that comes with leadership, and I think it's something that we as a nation have forgotten. Here we are nestled between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. We have, with Alaska, we have part of our country on the Arctic Ocean, and then we also have the Gulf of Mexico to the south. And so there is, I think, this responsibility to have a leadership role in exploring the ocean, because our future depends upon the ocean, and we're not seen as being a leader in the arena of ocean exploration.
So why is ocean exploration important to you on a personal level?
Well, I've always been interested in the world's water. I grew up on the Great Lakes, and then I had an opportunity to study Chesapeake Bay for a number of years, then moved to Long Island, New York, which I think is probably the best coastal laboratory in the country, maybe in the world, because you have the island, and to the north you have Long Island Sound, to the south you have Great South Bay and the Barrier Islands, Fire Island, to the east you have the Peconics, then to the west you've got New York Harbor, the New York Bight, and this amazing gradient in population from New York City on the west to the east end of Long Island, where the population density is very low. So it's a great laboratory for studying how people can live in harmony with their coastal environment. And I studied that for 20 years, and it became increasingly obvious to me that one of the things that gets in the way of doing what we should do in our relationship with the ocean is the lack of public understanding of these issues. And informal science education, I think, is key, and that includes journalism and in all of its forms. That was what led me to leave the State University of New York at Stony Brook and go to the New England Aquarium, and then later I left there to come to the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach.
What do you like about working at an aquarium as opposed to more of a research institution?
Well, I miss having students, and I miss doing research, but I do very much enjoy trying to take the results of research, translating them into forms that the public can understand, that forms that will engage and entertain, educate, and empower the public, and that's what we try to do through our exhibits and our programs. And so we're what's called a boundary organization, where we operate between the research community and the policy community and the general public. And it's very exciting and challenging, because you have to work then with a lot of different stakeholders, and I find that very challenging but very rewarding.
So to shift a little bit more from some general questions about your personal experience to some of the things you've talked about in essays and elsewhere, in your essay, Positioning Ocean Exploration in a Chaotic Sea of Changing Media, you mentioned that there's been this shift from print-based consumption of information to a more social media-based consumption. And I was wondering, what has this shift meant for communication from your perspective, and specifically about ocean stories?
Well, I think it means that the coverage has become more spotty, more superficial. We've lost the opportunity to do those in-depth series that or newspapers used to do on ocean issues. And, if you look at how many major newspapers now have environmental desks, I think there are only two left that do. The New York Times got rid of its environmental desk. The LA Times still has one. But we've lost the capacity to take an issue and have a talented journalist really wrestle it to the ground. And I think the other thing that's happened is with social media, statements get repeated, they go viral, they get repeated multiple times, and whether they're true or not, they take on a currency as if they were true, well-established facts. And pretty soon they're part of the everybody's lexicon, and it's hard to bring rationality. I'll give you one example, and it's in the latest Economist magazine, where there's a one-page article, which in general is quite good about how to improve the health of the ocean, but they make the statement that pretty soon that the amount of plastics in the ocean will weigh more than the total amount of seafood. And that's a silly statement. There's no data to back it up, but it's been said enough times in enough popular places in the social media that now it appears in a well-established magazine like The Economist. And when you do social media, if there are no peer review, you write something and you push the button and it's gone. And it's hard for the general public to know who they should pay attention to and who they shouldn't. So all of those things, I think, trouble me, and it means we tend to put way too much emphasis on the dramatic, the accidents, the incidents, and not enough attention on those persistent problems in the ocean.
So recognizing some of those problems that come with social media, you gave an example of facts, or I shouldn't say facts, statements that are not factual and are misleading in some way. As young intermediaries, so these science writers that we'll be working with for the fellowship, do you have any advice for them about how to avoid being the person perpetuating a fact like that and how to seek out truth?
Well, I think the best thing is to do your homework, talk to experts that have different perspectives, and talk to people who may disagree with you. And I think the focus needs to be on the role that the ocean will and must play in the future, and just be cautious. Have other people read what you write. All of us who have published in the peer-reviewed literature, those get reviewed anonymously by a number of people. We don't have that in journalism very much anymore, but find people you trust and have them review what you write.
That sounds like great advice.